Alright, I'm gonna just talk about, triggering things. I'm gonna talk about suicide and pet death and things that are not very nice because I honestly am having a mental breakdown. Uh, this is just gonna be a rant in one freaking take because I can scarcely take any more of this. I have reached my limit and I'm just not doing too hot right now. Uh, Wow, what the hell is this year? Seriously, this has been a transformative year. For funsies, sometimes I read tarot cards, and if this year was a tarot card, it's just the tower, the tower, the tower, the tower, the entire freaking time. I started this year with one romantic partner and a whole situation, and I'm ending it with a completely different situation and a completely different romantic partner. And I've gone through three people this year, and I don't like that because that's not what I want to do. Eventually, I thought I would find my person and settle down and, eventually, when the time is right, get married, move in, have kids, do everything right. I've been trying to do that for 10 years. 10 years of just trial and mostly error. Wow. At least I haven't settled, but, holy goodness. Here's what happened to me this year. Just this year. Just this year. I was with somebody, we quarantined together, and, that was a whole. He had to move in with us because it was an emergency situation, so he moved in with me and my parents because there was some domestic violence happening at his home. And I was like, oh, heck no, you're gonna come with me. So he did, and then COVID hit, and then we quarantined together. And then, we started to get serious. We were like, okay, well, now we're together and we love each other, and let's think about how we're gonna basically build a future together. So I was like, okay, that's something that I'm on board with. Thank God somebody's taking this seriously finally, because in the past, when I've dated people, they're like, no, I don't really want to get married. Let's just be dating forever. That's cuter. What? I don't understand. And I don't want to have kids. I want to have a dog. Okay, valid. Dogs are great, and I understand if you don't want to have kids, you don't want to have kids. Nobody's forcing you. But that's something that I really want to do with my life. So, moving along to the next person, because that person obviously didn't want the same things as me. So, in this situation, back to it in 2021, in February, we found a place to live. In March, which, by the way, I was the one who found the place to live. In March, he wanted to move in, but not just me and him. He also wanted one of his family members who was previously abusing him, and I was iffy about this, but he's like, no, it'll be fine. It was not fine. No domestic violence stuff happened, but the moment that we moved out together, he became a different person. It was like this ex-partner of mine got everything he wanted. He got to live with one of his family members. He got to have all of his stuff, which wasn't much, in this little place that I picked out for us. Everything was going his way, but it was not going my way. I was not getting the attention that I needed, and I was uncomfortable, and it was a cramped little space, and there was a lot of arguments over whose stuff would be distributed where, and a lot of other things that just made me feel very unloved and not prioritized that I'm not going to get into details with because they're just too graphic for a YouTube video. They just are. Abuse comes in many forms, I will say that. And something was wrong, and I just didn't feel right. So I went back with my parents. We had an argument, and I was like, nope, I've had enough of this. I would like to break up with you. I don't care if we live together. This is actually completely unbearable. I've made a lot of sacrifices to be with you and make this relationship work, and you are ignoring everything that I need out of you, and you keep taking things from me. Well, he didn't like that, and he cried like a child, and he chose not to change the things that I needed to be changed. And when I came back to pick up my stuff from the house to move it back to my parents, this was less than a month after we had had this argument, I'm still on the lease as I make this video. I come in and he has moved his ex-girlfriend to live in the house. It's been several months since that ridiculous betrayal of my trust and everything else. Like, it just sort of solidified that he didn't think of me as a person. He just thought of me as an interchangeable appliance or a toy. And then he brought this awful, mean, snippy little person and her cat, which was not on the lease agreement. And it was just not a good situation. They were doing things in the bed that I helped pay for, underneath my quilt that was still there. It was just so much was happening. It was such an overload. There was no warning. I just walked in to what is still legally my rental place, and there's another woman in my bed. So that was extremely shocking. Come to find out, he also got her pregnant, so I think I got cheated on. That was so much yikes that I got through. That would have been eventful enough for the year. Then I got involved with this horrible person who honestly took advantage of me emotionally when I was going through all of this. We dated for like a month or so, and I realized that he was love bombing me and didn't actually love me for me, but more in terms of what I could do for him. So I said no to that. I did like a narcissistic relationship speed run because I can't tolerate any more nonsense. I cannot. I've had enough. I just went through a whole entire relationship with, the guy that cheated on me, and then I went through a relationship with this other complete train wreck of a person that I cannot even go into detail with. That was ridiculous. Then I get involved with my current partner, who, fingers crossed, it will continue to go well, because I can't take much more crazy. The worst thing that's happened with my current partner is that he's been in and out of the hospital because he's had various health problems, which is alarming, but he's such a wonderful person as far as I can tell right now, because at this point I'm being cautiously optimistic. I'm still staying with him even through that stress. Then my dog died. As if everything that was happening with moving in, moving out, moving back in, there's so much happening. And then my dog, 14 years old, I've had him since I was a kid, and my dream was to bring him home and he'd live out the last of his years with me. But I haven't been able to make a home because I can't find anybody reliable enough to make a home with. So he passed away with my grandma, who he was living with on the opposite side of the country, and I failed to make a home for us. That was what I set out to do. About 7 years ago, I was with this guy that it just wasn't working out. I felt really invalidated in the relationship, and he made me feel like this awful person who was crazy, and even though I was going through some things and going to a therapist, I didn't deserve to feel like that. I didn't deserve to be degraded like that. There were times when I tried to leave this guy. We were engaged, and we were living with my grandma because his parents, his mother had passed away and his dad lost the house. It was this whole... There's been like dramatic emergency situation after dramatic emergency situation for the past 10 years, and I am so exhausted. So exhausted. We met at a religious cult. I don't care what he calls it. We were in a religious cult. It was an end-of-the-world cult, and they believed in scary, scary stuff that to this day still gives me panic attacks. I don't even want to get into that right now. It's just so much happened. And that's where we met, and we were together for a couple of years, and then I just wanted to leave, and he wouldn't let me do it. Like, we would be in the same bed, and I'd be like, I really want to leave you, and he's like, where are you going to go? We live in the same house. You can't afford to live anywhere. You don't even have a job right now. Like, what are you thinking? And it would just be like, you're in a bad mood. Go back to bed. Like... I needed to leave him, but he just wouldn't let me, to the point where eventually it ended with us having a screaming match on the stairs, and finally he understood that I was serious and I wanted to leave him. And that was really rough and difficult for me to do. And I traveled west to live with my new significant other at the time. And I lived in California for a little bit, and that relationship turned into its own nightmare, which was partially my fault, partially his fault, partially, external circumstances. It was a whole mess. I don't even want to get into how much of a mess. It ended up with me getting almost kicked out. He was nice enough to ship me my stuff, but there was a week or so when I was living at a hippie commune in the woods next to some lady's house. So I was basically homeless for a couple of weeks. It was scary. I got involved with the wrong people. It was not a good situation. I owe a lot to my friends who helped me during that time, and I got to crash at their house several nights during this time. That happened about 4 or 5 years ago now. And then I had the culture shock of my life where I took a DNA test because there was a sale to take like one of those ancestry DNA tests or whatever, and I found out I'm a completely different race than I thought. Turns out I'm Native American. I managed to track down my dad, who my family said was dead, but he is alive, and now I live with my native tribe, and I'm still catching up on culture that I've missed out on, and it's super overwhelming. There's like an entirely different language up here, and there's different traditions, and it's so complicated. I don't look like I'm Native American. I look like a white person, but I'm definitely Native. I look around at other people in my tribe, and I look a lot like them. I just have, paler skin. So it explains a lot of how I couldn't really get on well with my family that I grew up with, but it's also super shocking. So it's just been like drama and shock and terrible things and some wonderful things, but mostly terrible things and mistakes and errors for the past decade, and I'm exhausted, and I just want to know, for heaven's sake, at what point do I get to be happy? Like, at what point does this shit calm the fuck down? That's what I want to know. What point does this settle the hell down? Or is my whole life just gonna be one punch after another? Because I've had it. I've reached a point where I can't even feel normal feelings anymore. I am in therapy, and my therapist is basically having to tell me that I'm going through a tremendous amount of grief. I can't feel things. Like, you know how when you're next to somebody who's your significant other and you're supposed to feel like fluttery and lovey, and I understand that doesn't happen all the time, but it's terrifying when that suddenly goes away, especially really early in the relationship, and it's not the fault of the other person, and it's not my fault. It's just external stress has shut off any normal love feelings, and that's horrifying. I can't feel happy. It's hard for me to laugh at stuff. I just lately feel depressed and irritable and numb and just aggravated. Like, at what point do I get to go home? I've been trying for 10 years to make a home, go there. I couldn't bring my dog with me. He's gone. There have been other pets in the middle that belonged to my now exes. On my YouTube channel, I have videos of a hedgehog that I lived with. My ex had a wonderful taco terrier named Luna that I absolutely loved. I miss Luna. I miss Scooter. I miss those animals that I can't see anymore because you break up with somebody, obviously you can't see their pets anymore, and I can't even see my own pet because he's dead. So what the hell? Seriously, what the whole wheat fuck toast is happening in this life of mine? I'm exhausted. It's a nightmare. It is actually freaking torture. I have to sit here and be grateful for very basic things. I have a roof over my head. My parents are very nice people, even though they are also very flawed people, and they get frustrated because I am approaching 30 and I haven't figured out even how to have a partner to marry or leave or have a place to go. Like, I'm so ding dang lost. Seriously, like, I've had to move so many different places and see so many different people, and I've definitely experienced a lot in the couple of decades that I've lived thus far, counting on 3 fairly soon. And it's just, I want it to settle down. I don't want all this crazy drama. I don't thrive off of it. I don't like it. I want things to calm down. I have autism and post-traumatic stress disorder and depression and anxiety and panic attacks, and what I want more than anything in the freaking world is to just have a home that I can go to, that is my home, that I don't feel like I'm couch surfing or crashing at somebody's place. I just want my home, specifically mine, and not some place that I signed a lease with people who don't respect me and don't respect my space and treat me like crap. I don't want that. I want just my home that I can feel comfortable in, that I feel safe in, that I can put all my stuff away, and it's away, and it's stable, and I can afford to live there, and I don't have to worry too much about bills other than just paying them on time. Like, it's a lot to ask, apparently. There's so much craziness going on with finances and the economy and housing, and I was talking to my grandma recently. She raised me, and she said something that really hit me in the face. She's approaching her 70s. I think she's early to mid 70s or approach. I don't remember how old this woman is, but she said something that kind of haunts me, and it's, I didn't prepare you for this. Like, I was preparing you for a totally different world, and it's a whole new world out here. My grandma ignored a lot of my concerns for a really long time. She was working until they laid her off and forced her to retire a couple of years ago. And since then, she's been forced to sit down and look around and realize just how messed up things are. Because before, she was very much a, like, pull up by the bootstraps type of a person. She thought I was just being lazy and not trying hard enough. I dropped out of college because one of the colleges that I went to was a cult, and the other was a really frustrating community college. And college was just a nightmare experience for me. Take all your money, learn nothing, can't even finish. I was promised everything, and I got none of it. That's a whole different story. I ended up in a cult when I was like 14. I was taken advantage of by my math teacher, who was religious and was part of this cult. And he promised me that if I went to the same church and the same school that he went to, that I would get a spouse and a home and a career, like everything, and friends, because, autism makes it hard to make friends. I did not have a whole lot of friends. So he just promised me everything, and I ended up getting nothing because, hey, it's a religious cult. That's how they get you. So I was 14 years old. I got wrapped up in this for like 8 years. And then when I left, it just caused this fantastic mental breakdown because, hey, when you leave a really, really passionate and scary religious cult and you question, like, everything about life, death, the universe, the meaning of everything, love, hate, and other such concepts, when you start to question all of those things, it really throws you. So I've been suffering from that and just trying to get through it all. Like, there's too many things that I'm trying to get through. Too many things. And I don't know when it stops. I would like a break. I would like a place to live so that I can just be like, yes, I can lay my head in my bed and I can be safe here. I don't have to worry about, making people mad or there's so much going on. There's just too much going on. And I'm overwhelmed and I'm having a breakdown. And a lot of this is like, what's the point? What is the point? I go to work and I come home and I'm tired and miserable. Like, my job takes up all of my time and energy pretty much, and it makes me mad. And I'm changing jobs, but it's still in the same field, I guess. So I just work. I work, and then I, come home and I'm tired because the job that I previously had was really, really active, and then I just don't have time to make anything. The only reason why I'm making these videos right now is because I have like a few days off in between changing jobs. So I have very limited time. Oh my goodness, this is gonna be such a long video. Just a rant. So I have no time, no energy, very little money, and all I do is work, and then I don't even get to wear the clothes in my closet. So what is the point? I have a lot of kitchen stuff, but no kitchen. I have a lot of clothes, but no occasion to wear them at. It's hard to go on dates with my partner because we can't really find a lot of time to go on dates. Because of our schedule, it's hard to find places that are open for us to go to because by the time we get off work or go to work, everything is closed. So it's not a good situation. And I'm just sitting here like, well, I guess it's good that I'm alive. When in 2016 I tried to off myself because I felt like nobody cared about me and nobody loved me. And I'm glad that I lived and I got to meet my dad and my partner and I got to experience a lot of things, but there are times that make me really worried. I'm not suicidal, but I can see it from here, if that makes sense. Like, I have panic attacks about that. And I don't know what to do. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, when you're suicidal, you don't want to die, really. You just want the pain to stop. You just want to be somewhere or someone else. And that's how I've been feeling. I just want all of this overwhelming nonsense to please stop. To just please freaking stop. I lost my dog. I had to cut short this awful relationship with this narcissist person that was really hurting me emotionally and making me feel awful about myself, but also love bombing me at the same time. And he was my biggest supporter because that's also how narcissists get you, is they get in there, and cult leaders and other such people, they get in there and they find out that you're alone and you're weak, and they just love bomb you and make you feel like you can do anything, but then they start to tear you apart until you're just this shell of who you were. And I've been handling that, and it's so much. It's so much. Just in this year alone, it's too much for me, and I just want everything to work out. But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes things do not work out. Life is not that fair. I'm very lucky for all the second chances that I do have. I've made a lot of awful, awful mistakes. I've been an awful person sometimes. I've changed a lot. I've improved myself a lot. I've learned a lot of hard lessons, and I've learned to treat people better. There are people who don't talk to me anymore because I was such an awful person to them, and that's their right. And too much is happening. I didn't even get to be there to say goodbye to my dog. I got to see him last year, but I wasn't there when he needed me because I couldn't be. I didn't want to leave him behind, but I had to. And that's another thing that I'm wrestling with. I had to get away from my ex-fiance and my grandma. I had to leave. Oh, there's too much happening to me. I don't want to be a victim about it, though. I want to get through this and be better and make things and grow and finally be happy. I mean, I want to be one of those people who's glad that they lived. I want to be one of those people who's like, I've never been happier. I've finally found my happy place. I finally found my person and my home, and I have like a nice pet. And I'm like doing what I want to do. Like, why is it so hard to get there? Why is it so freaking difficult just to get to that point? Seriously, like, to me, these are the basics. You know, I can't afford even my own place. Most of us can't. I don't think that's fair either, but that's what we're dealing with. You know, you live with your parents, and there's always this undercurrent of resentment of like, okay, this is all well and good. When are you actually going to get on your feet? And then I was on my feet. I did technically move out, but then it wasn't a good situation. I had to come back. And then it's just like, okay, we're starting over again. How many times are you going to start over? And it's not like I grew up with my parents either. I grew up with my grandma. So is there a point where I overstay my welcome? Is there a point where I have to start couch surfing again? Is there a point where I live in my car? Is there a point where I have to make another sacrifice? What do I do? There's too many options. Nothing feels right. I want to go home. That's what I want to do. I want to go home. This ain't it. This is my parents' house. Parents that I just met a couple of years ago. That I still barely know. I can't go to the place I grew up because that's not a healthy situation by any means. I am so lost. It's like a odyssey. It's like I'm Odysseus and I'm just fucking shit up all along the way, and when do I get to be happy? When do I get to go home? When do I get to find the right or approximate to right person? I don't even know how love works anymore. I do, but I don't. You know, I've dated a lot of people. A lot. Enough to get patterns and understand what I want out of a person, and I've learned a lot of lessons and things like that. You know, I figured out a lot of things about love, but when it comes to finding the right person that you want to spend the rest of your life with, I have an idea. I've never managed to get to that point. Nobody thinks I'm good enough, and I don't think other people are good enough. I have a partner right now that I have some hope in, but, you know, what can you do? It could turn out just as awful as all the rest. You don't know. It's a risk every single time. Every single time. But I keep doing it because that's something that I want more than anything. It hurts me every time, you know? But I pick myself up and I try again. I keep trying to do the basic things that I want to do. Because there's no other option. That's scary as well. If I give up who I am, I give up hope. I can't do that. I've already been suicidal before. I can't do that again. So, humans are meant to survive. That's probably the most embarrassing thing about being suicidal, is that it's like my brain just kind of self-destructed. It's like, okay, too much pain? I guess I'll put you out of your misery. And I'm like, whoa, 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 don't do that. That's not an option. We can't make that choice. That's not a good choice. Oh my goodness. I want it to stop. There's not a lot of options to take away the pain. I think maybe there's some times in your life where you're just supposed to hurt because hurtful things are happening. I think maybe that's what I'm going through. Just pain and suffering. It would be irrational if I felt good about this. I don't know. This is too long of a freaking voice recording, and I don't even know what I'm gonna do with it. Probably show it to my therapist. But, oh well. I've had enough. I just needed to talk to somebody. Thank ya.